If Jake Paul gets knocked out, will his career be over? Buddy, his life may be over if he gets knocked out by AJ, because that dude put Francis Ngannou flat on his back, and I had never seen Francis Ngannou hurt before. Again,
I don't think that I would ever consider having a debate about whether Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is a proper fight between two bona fide champions. I think Jake Paul is someone that's creating a lot of opportunity for himself and using sport as the anchor for it. And would I watch it? No. And do I value it? No.
At all.
Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
I mean, Anthony Joshua is one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
I mean, he's a one-punch night guy.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan has warned that Jake Paul is stepping into extremely dangerous territory by even thinking about fighting Anthony Joshua. Rogan emphasizes that Joshua is an Olympic gold medalist and one of the most powerful heavyweights of this era. He believes Joshua wouldn't just try to beat Jake, he'd try to make an example out of him to stop influencers from calling out elite champions for money. Rogan says the skill gap is so massive that the fight could end brutally for Jake. Wade Plemons, host of the Wade
If he beat Anthony Joshua, good lord. Good lord. I mean, that's a big if, right?
I mean,
Anthony Joshua,
I do not think,
Olympic gold medalist, former heavyweight champion of the world. What he did to Francis Ngannou, good lord.
Yes.
Do you want that smoke?
Yeah, I just think it's all about the promotion or whatever. I have no idea what the actual motivation is for that fight's not competitive at all.
Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
I mean, Anthony Joshua is one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
I mean, he's a one-punch.
Concept podcast also strongly cautions Jake Paul, saying that by going after Joshua, Jake is putting his own health at serious risk. Plemons notes that Jake walks around at roughly 90 kilograms, while Joshua is a true heavyweight at around 111 kilograms, a massive difference in size, strength, and power. He stresses that it's one thing to chase entertainment fights, but stepping into the ring with an Olympic-level heavyweight champion is a completely different reality. Plemons warns that if Joshua knocks Jake out, the effects could be long-lasting, calling the matchup not just a mismatch, but potentially life-altering. He believes Jake's hunger for big paydays is blinding him to the danger he's actually facing. Boxing Kingdom reported on X.
This fight, one, yes, that's the former heavyweight champ. Why is he fighting Jake Paul? And two, why is Jake Paul putting his health and well-being on the line? Because someone asked me on Twitter, Wade, if Jake Paul gets knocked out, will his career be over? Buddy, his life may be over if he gets knocked out by AJ, because that dude put Francis Ngannou flat on his back, and I had never seen Francis Ngannou hurt before. Again, it's boxing, not MMA. Jake has a little more experience, but we're talking about a massive size difference. AJ's still relatively young and still relatively got something left in the tank, and he's only fought the world-class guys for the last 10 years. This would be Jake's not only hardest fight, most dangerous fight of his career. If Jake is doing this, it could signal the last one. I'm not even joking. This could signal Jake being like, I'm having one more of these and I'm out. Because where do you go from Anthony Joshua? We'll get into that part in a second, but the Netflix thing. We know that Anthony Joshua is an exclusive fighter to DAZN. Eddie Hearn has stated that multiple times. AJ, I'm pretty sure, even has a piece of DAZN. I could be wrong about that, but he signed a mega deal years ago with them. So for this fight to take place on Netflix would mean DAZN would say, you can have one of our biggest cash draws, and I may be in a revenue share thing, or maybe Netflix pays them some money, but you can have our biggest cash draw and we don't have an affiliation with it. That seems a bit unrealistic. But having said that, this isn't a report from anybody in the camp. This is not MVP saying it. This is not Eddie Hearn saying it. This is Mike Coppinger, who I guess has talked to people in the camp. But an independent source saying that they are finalizing a deal. Not that they're in talks. They are finalizing a deal. So this is, again, we're talking 1 yard line, first and goal.
That Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua is currently being negotiated as a professio. No boxing match, not an exhibition. That means full Queensberry rules, official judges, sanctioned referees, and real scoring, confirming that this isn't some casual show fight. If the bout is finalized, it will be a legitimate professional contest with real consequences for both men. Rumors are spreading everywhere that Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua is being locked in for December, but Eddie Hearn, Joshua's longtime promoter, says the talk is premature. He explains that no contracts have been signed and much of what's circulating is still speculation. Meanwhile, veteran combat sports journalist Ariel Helwani believes the situation is more real than people think. Helwani says when rumors get this loud, it usually means something serious is happening behind the scenes, potentially setting up the fight for late this year or early next year. Even with Hearn urging caution, Helwani remains convinced the matchup could materialize sooner than expected. MMA Fighting also posted Leon Edwards' reaction to the rumors.
And Jake Paul are finalizing a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in December in Miami. Sources tell Ring Magazine Paul steps up massively to fight the former heavyweight champion after his exhibition with Gervonta Davis was canceled. Major props to Paul. So there you have it. In the midst of all this, I did reach out to Eddie Hearn, as did Gareth, and he said, "We have spoken, but nothing close, and I doubt he would be so crazy," he being Jake. I then asked him, "Would you say this report is premature?" He said, "Absolutely." And then I said, "Can I attribute this to you?" And he said, "Yes." And so what do we make of this, guys? Do we think there's smoke to this fire? PT, what do you think? You think this is something that could actually happen? This would be within the next month, right? This would be sometime between now and probably December 19th or so, in that time frame. What do you think?
I think it's a huge fight. You know, I didn't expect this at all. Usually when Jake is in a fight, the odds feel like they're stacked very much in his favor. This is the complete opposite of that. I'd very much agree with Gareth A. Davies' take, which was I'd expect Joshua to obliterate him in a boxing match. I mean, look what Anthony Joshua did to Francis Ngannou before that Dubois fight. Like, I mean, it was a completely different affair than the Tyson Fury fight. I think, having heard Eddie Hearn's update and having looked at that tweet again, it feels like boxing's equivalent to the old in the works reporting that we used to see in MMA an awful lot, right? Like when we weren't quite sure, maybe one side had verified that this fight is happening, but you can't get the other side to commit, and it's in the works. It's a huge fight. The one thing I will say is, why would you want that out there? Why would the Ring report this? Why would someone give them that information if it wasn't going to happen? Now, because everything else pales in comparison to this, as far as I'm concerned. Every other fight that they had perspective or potential, I don't think it's as big as Anthony Joshua. So I don't know.
This isn't a ring fight, right? This isn't a ring fight. Anthony Joshua is tied to DAZN. Anthony Joshua has a relationship with Turki Al-Sheikh in Riyadh season.
Edwards said that if AJ doesn't knock Jake out in 1 or 2 rounds, then the fight must be fixed. His comment shows just how wide the gap in experience, power, and skill is between the two. A UFC champion openly stating that anything other than a fast knockout would be suspicious highlights how dangerous this fight truly is, and how little people expect Jake to withstand Joshua's power. Francis Ngannou, the former MMA heavyweight champion who transitioned to boxing, knows Joshua's power firsthand. Joshua knocked him out brutally, proving that his strength and heavyweight technique are very.
This fight's in the works, Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. As a Brit, how do you evaluate?
I've just seen that. Someone just told me about that. That's mad. Fair play to Jake Paul, first of all, for taking it. But if Asia doesn't knock him out in like 1-2 rounds, then I feel like the fight must be fixed or something, because I'm going to Anthony Joshua, obviously, for the KO. So yeah, when is it, you know?
It's going to be next month they're working towards.
Oh yeah, sick. Yeah, I'm going AJ for the win.
Cheers.
Real Jake Paul had already been in talks to fight Ngannou, which was bold on its own given Francis's destructive reputation. But now, Jake is shifting his attention to Joshua, a fighter who not only stopped Ngannou, but has consistently shown that his size, speed, and championship-level skill make him one of the most dangerous heavyweights alive. Jake is chasing a man who defeated someone as terrifying as Ngannou, a move that comes with massive upside but even greater risk. Earlier in the negotiation process, the focus was on Jake Paul versus Francis Ngannou, but Francis publicly shut the idea down. calling it disrespectful and saying he wouldn't waste his time fighting a crossover influencer. That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.